Okay, everyone, welcome as always to our July 2025 Town Hall. I know we normally do these on the first Friday of the month, but that was a holiday here in the United States, so we did push it out 1 week. And another announcement, actually my wedding is the week of the next town hall, so I did push it out 1 week again, so that I could host it. So it'll be August 7th, I believe, is the next Friday. So please don't skip that one just because it's a week late. I hope to see you all and celebrate with you all then. So we have a jam-packed agenda today. Really excited to share with you. We're going to do something new where at the top of the town halls every month, we get a general project update from one of the members of the PMC. This month, Caxel has offered to do it. Next month, I'm hoping I can shift the responsibility to another PMC member so that Caxel doesn't always have to do it. So if you're on the PMC and on this call, I'm looking at you. And please feel free to shoot me a note if you'd like to volunteer to provide the project update 1 month. We had a number of really amazing PRs this month. Loved watching the PR of the month vote come through. So we decided to highlight 3 of those. Again, if you ever submit a PR and you want to share, please just make sure to shoot me a note and I'd be more than happy to facilitate that. Then we have a really exciting Gen AI Airflow course overview from Tamara, as well as a small discussion about her Manning book that she published about Airflow as well. And then I'm going to talk about our meetup program, how it's expanding, all of that, and then we'll get you all out of here on time. Couple rules of engagement. If you're new to this call, which I don't think many of you are, no decision making takes place on these calls, and topics discussed should always be brought to the dev list afterwards. So if something is brought up in the chat here and you're responsible for that, please bring it to the dev list. This is an open source community, so of course this event is open to everyone, and I will record this meeting as well and post it to the Apache Airflow YouTube. I'll also share it in the Town Hall channel in Airflow Slack, as well as to the dev list through the end of today. So with that, I want to pass it off to Caxel to share a project update. And Caxel, I can keep driving the slides if you want to just tell me next slide, unless you want to drive, and then you can.
It's fine. I think it's just 3 slides, so it will be quick.
Cool.
So thank you, everyone. So a lot of drama going on in the last month. I said drama because we did release a lot of things, but we are in process of creating a release that has been going on since few weeks now, or few days at least. It feels like few weeks and months. So anyways, let's first look at what did we release. Providers batch was released. All but 3 providers, which I'm sure we'll go into detail afterwards, but all providers were released on 3rd of July. The 3 providers that were left will be released soon. The voting is already in progress for those. Helm chart 1.17.0 was released. There was a lot of requests around releasing a Helm chart version with 3.0 support. That was finally released too. Kudos to Jed and for providers Elad. And Python client was also released 3.0.2, which supports 3.0.0 and the following version. So it's compatible with like 3.0.0 and 3.0.1 and 3.0.2, and will also support 3.0.3 because there are almost no to very less API changes. None that affects public API, at least that I know of. So those are releases that have been actually released. The vote in progress, Airflow 3.0.3. Release candidates have been out for some weeks now. RC1, RC2, RC3, 4, and 5. RC5 was supposed to pass, but we found out another bug. So it's fortunately or unfortunately, it's going to be RC6. We caught a bug. Ash has a PR. It's going to be, I have already merged it. RC6 will be created tonight with a goal to release 3.0.3 on Monday. If vote passes, I hope it does not go to RC7, but you never know. So Helm chart 118.0 is also being voted right now. RC2 of that. I don't know, Jed, if you have a one-liner on that or what that constitutes 118. Sorry to put you on the spot, but if you have it.
No, there's just like some minor bug fixes and things. Nothing super pressing. More pressing was just getting the next release period because of the 17 had an issue on Artifact Hub. So if you go to Artifact Hub right now, you don't see 117. So 118 will show up on Artifact Hub.
Cool, cool. Thank you, Jed. And the other vote in progress is the Amazon provider that was not released in the 3rd July batch. 910 ORC1 is being voted right now. So should be done pretty soon as well. Next slide, please, Brianna. So what's happening? What happened in the last month? We dropped support for Python 3.9. It's end of life. So hopefully, if you are using 3.9, please migrate to 3.10 as soon as possible, or else we won't support it, at least in going forward. That's in the main branch. So just an FYI for folks following. Human in the loop, the PR was merged. So if you're not been following the discussions, it's a feature that will allow you to pause your workflows. It's similar to an approval step that is needed in most of the CI jobs, saying do not run it until you have my approval. It's similar feature to that. If you're interested more, you can take a look at the mailing list discussion or the AIP. The PR has been merged. The next things that will happen will be UI related features and probably more feature additions on top of it. Decoupling of Task SDK and core code. So in Airflow 3.0, we created Task SDK with a aim that the DAG authors will always just need Task SDK itself. Like they can just import airflow.sdk.dag or task and everything from there. They should never need to know anything about the core itself. Core being the API server and scheduler and DAG processor and all of that. That the packages were separated, but there's still decoupling. We still use core from Task SDK right now. That work around decoupling them is being done right now and will go on until 3.1 is released at the very least. Community swarming, I say that with a smile because I've been really proud that this work has shown the strength of our community. I created a GitHub issue around base operator. We needed to fix a lot of providers that were importing base operator from airflow.models. Base operator. It needed to change it to utilize the base operator from the SDK. The change is not that simple for most cases because a lot of tests were using that too, which meant some surgical operation. So we utilized the power of AI and our community to leverage that. So there were a bunch of rules that were laid down on the GitHub issue to say, if this breaks, run this. If this breaks, use this. That we were able to get it done in 3 days or 4 days. All the providers have been migrated. Then Amog did the similar stuff for base hook that got migrated in 2-3 days as well. That has been really good. That's one example. Second is the UI internationalization, like Airflow UI will now support a lot of different languages, which you will see later in the call as well. Like more details on that is coming. Someone is presenting that, but that work also shows a good example where it was not just one person. There were a lot of community members involved in adding translations for that language. So if you are on this call and if you don't see the language of your choice over there, add the translations, create a PR and help out with this effort. What's ongoing on that front is like MyPy. We are bumping MyPy to 116.1, but that has come with its snag. So Pawan has been leading that effort, and that's been going on, and a lot of PRs have been merged recently. So very proud of the community on that front. On the discussions front, another angle of the community where we have been discussing a lot of different things, and I've just highlighted 3 things, but there has been a lot of discussions. And I've highlighted this because that's where you might chime in to say, hey, I have a feedback. I'll go to the mailing list and add a vote or add the discussion. There has been discussions around being able to configure the secrets backend order, which is like, where should my variable and connections come from? Currently, we only allow external secrets backend to be configurable, and then it follows to a predictable state right now, which is to fall back on an environment variable and then fall back on the DB, or in workers case, fall back on the API server then like environment variable, then API server, and then DB. Now, of course, this is a good feature to have, but again, if you are not careful with it, you won't know. Debugging will be a nightmare. So if you have a voice on that or thoughts on that, please go to the mailing list with that. Multi-team vote, Jarek did a lot of work on the multi-team discussion, so that is currently being voted on. So if you have any thoughts around, hey, what should multi-team look like, or if you have a feature request around multi-team, go and see if that fulfills it. Or if you say, yeah, all of this looks good, go and still cast your vote over there. Example deck refresh. We are rethinking all of our example decks and see what makes most sense from the user's perspective. Jens is leading that effort, and a lot of thought have gone behind that as well. So if you want to help around that effort, Jens is looking for people around that. So please go on the mailing list. There's a lot of opportunities to contribute. Next slide, please. So what's next for the next month? I'm not looking too ahead as well. Next month and like next releases. Python 3.13 support that is coming soon. Jarek has been working hard to add that support probably soon enough. And then Airflow 304 August, like we follow a monthly cadence for patch releases. So Airflow 304 should be next month, some point, ideally in the first 2 weeks, but let's see how RC6 goes along, first of all, and then 1 month from there on. Airflow 3.1 currently is tentatively scheduled for September. A lot of the feature sets around human in the loop, server client separation or task SDK separation, and a lot of other good features will be released. The whole UI internationalization will be part of that. So that will be tentatively released in September. So if you have a feature that you want to add in 3.1, now is the time. Go and get it merged, open a PR and get it merged. Other than that, the last but not the least is switching base Python container images to Python standalone. Like this is not Airflow code itself, but for the Docker images, we have been using the Python official images, which are not so official as we realize. I don't know, Jarek, if you want to say
Yes,
few
yes.
lines
So
on
it's
that.
not the Python standalone anymore. So we are building Python from sources, which is even better actually, and fast. It turned out like we were surprised with Aritra, who is like running it, how fast it is. And the PR is just being like getting green, like right now. So we'll maybe even merge because I tried to merge it before, but we didn't test. I didn't test it enough. So I had to revert it now. I tested it as well, and it looks good. And also, just to add a few more small things, is like also things are work like in the background. Our dependencies are upgrading stuff. Like we are working on Fab5 support for Airflow 2, so like and Airflow 3 as well, which will enable to run Fab on Python 3.13. I'm working that with Daniel from Superset, and the other part is like we are on the final pass part of upgrading to the connection 2.15 for Airflow 2 old version, which will make it finally we will be able to upgrade some of the dependencies, including Workzake, which is like having CVEs and security issues, and we couldn't upgrade it so far. So that's also good news for Airflow 2 users, that they will be able to upgrade to 2.11.1, which will be Workzake security issue free, hopefully. So, but that's thing that depends on a lot of the other external dependencies, and it's close. Like we have like green PRs. We worked with Vincent on the Fab. I work on the connection stuff. There are still a few things to be fixed, but it's getting there, and hopefully this month.
Cool, 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 cool. Anything anyone wants to else from the community side? If I have missed anything. Cool. Looks like all good. That's it from my end, Brianna.
Thank you, Caxel. Really appreciate that update. I'm sure others do as well. Feel free to drop questions in the chat too if you have any follow-up questions for Caxel. But I'd like to invite Ankit to the stage to discuss his PR this month.
Hi everyone. So My name is Ankit Chaurasia. So I think this is a PR. Oops, there was a slide. Okay, I think there's a slide. Can you, maybe I'll share my screen.
Is the slide not showing on your end?
Yeah, I think it's showing now. Sorry for that. So, um, folks, so I think I'm going to talk about this PR. Basically, like, just to give some context, for DAG authors, like Task SDK is the primary interface, right, for creating DAGs and tasks, and it is the purpose for that was to avoid DAG authors to go into internal implementation details, right? So as part of that change, right, what I have done is, can I get the sharing uh, uh, permissions, Brianna?
Just
think
granted them to you. Yeah.
Sorry for this. So there was no documentation as such with respect to Task SDK as of now. So this was the first step with respect to creating the documentation for Task SDK, and we wanted to have a separate docs folder inside Task SDK, and we wanted to version it separately as well. So as part of that, there was like it was more of two-step process. One was around creating a skeleton of how the documentation should be, and then the second part was more around how we want to like structure the whole documentation. So I think first let me go over the structure of the whole documentation, right, and then I can come down to how the whole documentation PR is there. So it starts with like this page wherein user would land in Airflow or documentation page, and there's a URL to this particular Task SDK index page, right? Wherein we have a brief description of Task SDK and then getting started and a sample DAG. And then we have a public interface mentioning there's no direct access to database, and then we also have the APIs, right, linked as and when uh, as and when required, right? And then we have also like briefly mentioned why do we need Task SDK, right? And more around what are the different classes which are available to the user, and also the decorator functions. So these are the classes and decorator and helper functions which we explicitly want to like make it available to the users, right? And for any of this, uh, if the user clicks on this, they would go to the corresponding API references as well. Coming back, like previously, like user would be doing something like this to import, let's say DAG, right? Now we have all the imports from the top label, and there's a way we are enabling that in our documentation part as well. And then we have added an example reference, and then a brief concept around uh, Airflow 2 architecture and 3 architecture, right? And in example reference, we have kind of added different example DAGs which we have with again an explanation around how they can be used. And we have also added a section for dynamic task mapping, right? Um, Now coming to why we actually needed this, because there were issues like this, for example, right, wherein actually user was trying to access database directly as part of tag run, right? And there was no documentation as such explicitly like mentioning why they needed to do so, right? So as part of this exercise, we have also updated the public interface as well, um, in which we have uh, like explicitly mentioned the direct database access is not possible in case of task SDK. Now, coming to this PR specifically, right? There are if you want to like right now it's not public. The URL is not public because again it's not released yet. You can find this in the staged documentation URL here. To build it locally, I have also added a Breeze command, Breeze build docs task SDK, right? Coming to the docs part specifically, right? So in this, we have essentially added the Sphinx rules, right? In which the major key thing is like we want to just show top level imports. For example, DAG, if you want to import a DAG, we want to just do Airflow SDK and then DAG, right? So in that, how is that enforced right now is in init.py, right? We do a sort of lazy import right now, right? And what this essentially does is this mechanism, right? It allows user. So let's say if someone imports asset, it would actually import from definition dot assets, right? And on there's a file called API dot RST, right? In which we have also like mentioned auto API functions with the top level imports only explicitly. And as part of this, we have tried to only document those classes and decorators which we want user to be able to access, and all of those are part of this list here, right? And coming to the Breeze command, right? So give me a second.
Are we supposed to be seeing something other than the slide on Keat?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to show you this. I hope
you-
you're seeing.
We
seeing-
see my screen. Do you want to share your screen?
We can see
Yeah,
both screens at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So like everyone else sees his screen, but you still see your screen.
Are you not seeing my screen?
You're good. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, so
Because she's showing your screen, but everyone else can see your screen.
oh, okay. Yeah. So right now we have this command, please build docs task SDK, right? Which will help you build things locally. And again, like I said, this is more of a first step towards documentation with respect to task SDK. If there are gaps, please feel free to reach out or create issues and assign it or take it or create a discussion regarding that. I'll be more than happy to fix those. Is there any questions with respect to this PR or documentation in general?
Any questions, just shoot them to the chat. We have to move forward with the next PR. Thank you so much, Ankit. Really appreciate you sharing that. Now I'd like to welcome Ash to the stage. Ash, would you like to drive or would you like to use your slides here?
You can drive. I've just got. I'm not going to spend too much time.
All
You hear me?
right.
Sorry.
Yep, can hear you.
There we go. Cool. Yeah. So I should have added an extra thing. So I'm sure most of you are aware. One of the big things we added in Airflow 3 was the separation between the database and the tasks. One of the implementation details of how we did this is essentially the task code. I'll be responsible for updating the task code. It's Python. It's predominantly single-threaded. The task code is responsible for running the task, doing whatever the user actually wants to do with Airflow. So we've got this extra layer above, which we call the supervisor. It watches the process. It also kind of handles a lot of the stuff so that the code in the user's process is as simple as possible. However, we had some problems with that. It worked for simple cases, but we found some weird edge cases and not so weird edge cases where it fell down. If you just go to the next slide, please. There we go. Sorry, my internet's being slow. So as Ankit was mentioning, a lot of the kind of the DAG author facing code now lives in airflow.sdk, including where you have DAG. This means that the DAG parser needs to use the SDK code. So the DAG parser is a supervisor, just like how you've got for the task runner itself. You've got the supervisor of the task process, you've got the DAG processor, and then individual parsing processes. Same sort of thing. The parsing processes don't have access to the database. They serialize things and send it back up to the supervisor. This is all kind of running on one machine. This is not direct speaking to the API server. That's something that's the next step, but this is just like between processes on the same machine. And this lovely little DAG we had here ended up with a ridiculous, like, regressive behavior. It took 2 hours to serialize that DAG and send it across, and it would parse. And essentially, there were unexpected size limits that we put in place. This also having to get the same thing. We got the same issue in the triggerer. Triggers are user code, so therefore they have to run the task SDK. They can't access the database directly. We ended up with some deadlock cases because the trigger is async. A lot of the kind of stuff is still synchronous. You have sync to async, and it all kind of dealing with concurrency. Even without threads, you can still deadlock, and it all just gets very weird. So it's kind of like, this is very much a low level detail, but it has unlocked a few things and made a lot of things faster. For anyone interested, essentially the old protocol was new line delimited JSON. Yeah, there'd be a socket between the two processes, and you'd send a JSON string, the other end would process it and send JSON back, and that worked reasonably well, to be honest, for how simple it was. But there were some, as I say, these edge cases. So what we did is we fixed it up to use a binary protocol, and rather than just sending a line and letting the Python buffering and line reading handle it, it's kind of now a binary protocol. So we send the length of the frame so that the client can then read the whole thing. The way it fell down was sometimes it would work with large things. Sometimes you just go, like, I can't find the new line, essentially. And now, because we've also got this, we changed the structure. Rather than just big JSON, you can now attach a bit to data as well. So if you're writing things for the task A, the processes and stuff, you can send errors back and forth in a lot more uniform without having to special case it for each thing. So yeah, we managed to make DAG parsing faster for these like edge cases, and things should now just be a bit more stable. So just that. Hit me up if you want more details, but if you're a user, it doesn't affect you. But if you're working on the SDK, it might be nice to know, but it's not required. It's all just done handled for them. But there we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ash. Really appreciate it. Any questions for Ash? Drop them in the chat. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer. Now on to our next PR. PRs are my favorite thing that people present. I love this. Young-Guk, our amazing head of our Seoul chapter, is going to present his PR now, whenever you're ready.
Hello. You listen my voice?
Yep.
My name is Young-Wook. I'll share a short story about my PR. And first, what was the problem? Previously, all translation files were in a UI SRC folder, and so they were bundled into the JavaScript bundles. And this meant even if you only need some language like Korean, your browser downloaded all other languages too, like French, Arabic, or German, and Taiwanese. At the time, it wasn't a huge issue, but we knew that as translations grow, I think it became a real problem. So next slide. So we made some change. First, we moved all translation file from UI SRC I18N locus to UI public I18N locus. This change made sure that translation files are not included in JavaScript bundle anymore. And then we added I18N Next HTTP backend, which allowed us to load translation file dynamically. And these two change reduced the JS bundle size and made the translation system cleaner and easier to maintain. Next slide, please. Of course, it's not everything was smoothly. After we moved the translation file to public folder, we faced a lot of problem. First, our translation were trying to link JSON files, and then second, ESLint couldn't parse JSON, so our I18N rules didn't work. To solve these problems, we did two things. We fixed that by scoping the TypeScript rule only TS.js or TSX.jsx file. And then we added JSON-C ESLint parser to help ESLint understand JSON file. I know ESLint does have a plugin for JSON now, but we choose JSON-C ESLint parser because it's older and more stable and still widely used. So I choose JSON-C ESLint parser. And I also moved script check translation completeness pi bar to more cleaner location in dev I18N. So now it's much easier to learn and check translation status. Previous system, we had to go deep into the UI folder and run the script manually, but now we can just run UV dev I18N check translation completeness pi. And next, please. So what did we get? The main JavaScript bundle is reduced by, I think, more than 32 kilobytes now. And but this might not feel like a big change, but this change wasn't just about saving a few kilobytes. What really matters is the improved structure. Translation files are easier to manage and serve, and it also opens the door to future improvement, like switching translation format from JSON to YAML, or even fully separating translation logic from the UI code. Yeah, so I'm excited about what's coming next. And this is the short story about my PR. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And thanks to everyone who presented their PRs this month. Really, really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know your time zones are very different than mine, so thanks for joining in the evening. And if anyone has any questions for Younguk, please drop them in the chat. And now we have an update on a course and a book from Tamara.
Yeah. Hey everyone. This is kind of what my team did earlier this year update for the whole group. And yeah, it is about the course and the book. If you go to the next slide, please. We'll start with the course. What is it? It's a course that's called Orchestrating Workflows for GenAI Applications on Deep Learning AI. I don't know if everyone here knows Deep Learning AI. It's Andrew Ng's learning platform with a lot of courses around all sort of things AI. He also, I think, co-founded and still owns Coursera. So he's quite a big name, especially in the data science space. And among data scientists, this is one of the most famous learning platforms. So Kenton and I, we got to create this course and present it on the platform. We were very excited for it. One little note, you notice the name doesn't include Airflow. This is because they like to teach patterns over specific tools. But in reality, of course, it's an Airflow course. We just use Airflow to show you how you can orchestrate your workflows for GenAI applications. If you go to the next slide, please. The first question, okay, why did we do that? And one of the reasons was Airflow was originally developed for ETL and ELT, but we know from the Airflow survey that now 23% are using it for MLOps use cases and almost 9% for GenAI use cases. So these new AI-related use cases are expanding quite quickly. And we get a lot of requests from people who say, hey, can you show us what a DAG looks like for a GenAI pipeline for something related to MLOps? How do I even set that up? Including by data scientists. And with data scientists, a lot of them, including me, start out using a notebook environment to create their prototypes. So 3 years ago, all I knew was how to write Python in a notebook. And what do I do then? I have my notebook. I can't put that in production. You theoretically can, but it's a very bad idea. What do I do? How do I translate a notebook into something that runs on a schedule, that runs in the cloud, that I can actually handle, that is production ready? And that was exactly that gap that we wanted to bridge with this course. And the third reason, Deep Learning AI has a huge following, up in the millions. Like, they have a ton of subscribers across all of their channels. So we were thinking this might reach people who maybe have heard of Airflow but never used it before, or people who have never heard of it, and we might get more Airflow fans, which is always great. So if you go to the next slide, please. What is actually in this course? The course itself is very simple. You start where most of the other courses end on that platform. You start with the full finished notebook. And we on purpose chose a very simple use case, so we didn't have too much Python code. So it's accessible to all sorts of people who know different packages. So it's a very simple RAG use case. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. In case you haven't encountered that yet, basically what the notebook does is you read a couple of text files that include information on some books, some of my personal favorite books that I sneaked in there. And then that data gets transformed into a little dictionary, and then the description of the book gets turned into vector embeddings, and you load that to a vector database. We chose VV8, but you could swap in any other vector database. And then there's a second DAG that lets you input a string as a DAG param in the UI, and then you query that database for a book that matches your current mood that you want to read. So that's basically where you start. You have a notebook with all of that code, and then the course step by step helps you turn that notebook into an Airflow pipeline. One of the important things that we wanted to make sure is that absolutely no previous Airflow knowledge is required. You could theoretically do this course if you've never, yes, Chad, I'll explain why in a second. If you've never used Airflow before, you could even do it theoretically if you don't know Python, because all of the code is provided. You just need to know how to run a cell in a Jupyter notebook. But of course, to get most out of it, it makes sense if you understand the course. You get a full Airflow free sandbox environment. This was actually, we threaded the needle that this was Airflow free because, of course, this course was in development for quite a while. So originally, I wrote all the pipelines in Airflow 2 and all the course outline and everything. And then just as Airflow 3 was released, I updated it all and it was ready to go. But we were also excited that it was one of the first Airflow 3 courses. And you don't have to do anything. You just sign up. It's a free course. And then you get a link to your own Airflow 3 UI. And you can add all sorts of DAGs. You could add your own custom DAGs if you want to. You just cannot install any additional packages because of their setup that I'm going to show in a second. But it's a good way that you can experiment with Airflow syntax, including dynamic task mapping. And the course also encourages the user to experiment with the little DAGs that we give them. It covers the very basics, from turning a notebook into a pipeline on a conceptual part, like how do I think about different steps in a pipeline, how to use a DAG, a task, how to do very basic scheduling, both time-based and a basic asset schedule. The 101 of dynamic task mapping, that's probably the trickiest part of the course. and then also some retries and callbacks, so robustness of the pipeline. But really the very basics that you need to know to get the first pipeline up and running. And then lastly, some general examples of GenAI workflows with Airflow. And as Jed already pointed out, we didn't use the triggerer in it because it's not needed for the specific pipeline. And the way it works is that you have this notebook interface, and for every single person who signs up, a separate deployment is created based on Docker containers. And we actually at first did not know if it would work based on their resource constraints and how they handle their courses. And they said this is one of the most complex courses on their infrastructure backend side that they have done. So it took some back and forth and figuring out how to run Airflow within this constrained environment. And they asked me, hey, do we need the triggerer? We already have so many containers. We also run the vector database in an additional container with a Docker Compose override. So I said yes, because it's not part of the course. I'm sorry to the triggerer. It's an important part of Airflow, but for the very most basic course, it wasn't needed after all. If you go to the next slide, I can show you a screenshot what this looks like. In case you've never taken a course on that platform, the blue arrow shows on the left-hand side, you have a navigation where you can click around through the different lessons. People don't have to go lesson by lesson. They can also just do one lesson if they want to. In the middle is the notebook for all the lessons that have code in them, which is most of them, all but 2 have code. That has all of the code already there, and then you run the cells. And I think it might be a little small, but the green arrow points to a magic method. And this is something that the deep learning folks did on the back end. If you run a cell that starts with that magic method, the contents of that cell will be written to a Python file in the DAX folder. So that's how we get our DAX from inside of that notebook into the Airflow environment. And the link to the Airflow environment is provided at the start of each notebook for every person who goes through. I think it times out after about 2 hours, and it's resource constrained, so people don't start running their workloads on there. But it does work quite well. And of course, since this is still in a notebook, we also have an additional lesson at the end that is a video that shows people how to clone the exact same code as a repository, run it locally, have their own local instance to develop Airflow pipelines in Docker. And on the right-hand side, you have the videos where I go through that notebook and I explain what to click on, what to do in the Airflow UI, and take people through the course. The Airflow UI opens in a separate tab. So that was the setup that we eventually were able to do. And I'm very excited about this, and I think it's a good way. Probably everyone on this call already knows what is in there. Like, it's not something for more experienced Airflow users. But if you have a data scientist friend who you've been trying to get to try out Airflow, but maybe they're scared of Docker, or maybe they just don't know how to get started, I think this might be a way to get people to get a taste of what it's like to work with Airflow, especially with Airflow free as well. So also, if there's someone who can't run Airflow free yet for whatever reason, this is a way to play around with the Airflow free UI for free with some simple DAX. If you go to the next slide, please. The second thing that this year has brought is the book. So from end of January until about a week, it was released a week after Airflow free came out, the 29th, we released the book. This was my whole life. I wasn't thinking about much else. The practical guide to Apache Airflow free. If you go to the next slide, please. Why did we do that? So in summer 2024, when the Airflow free discussions were happening on the dev list, it was decided what's going to be in it. I think I said that to Kenton, how cool would it be if an Airflow free book came out together with the release? And I said that not fully understanding the level of commitment behind that sentence, in full transparency, but turns out several other people already had that idea, and I ended up getting to do it. And our goal was to introduce all of the new features, give people some context, how they might want to use the features, an introduction, and also a starting point reference for upgrading. And of course, the goal, get people excited about Airflow free and get them ready to try it and upgrade it. If you go to the next slide, please. What is it? It's a 140-page book. It was published by Manning. It is a real book. I actually have one of the print copies here. But the print copies are a bit elusive because you cannot order a print copy via Manning, via the contract that we have. Astronomer has a bunch of copies and distributes them at different events. But the ebook is free to download. So the way this works is we published this together with Manning, but Astronomer sponsored it to make sure that everyone can get their hands on the book and can just download the book for free. And this is the list of chapters. So there's some introduction. This too, in theory, you could read this book and understand it without having ever used Airflow before. So it does not assume you've used Airflow too. But of course, that helps quite a bit. But that's why there's this chapter 2 that really starts at, okay, we write your first pipeline. You actually follow a person throughout the book, a young data engineer called Chris, who uses Airflow for the first time. So you learn with him how to write the pipelines. That chapter is probably not that interesting for the people listening here, but I think at chapter 3 it starts where it goes into new ways of scheduling as well. So event-driven scheduling is part of chapter 3. After introducing assets. Chapter 4 is, I think, might be my personal favorites because it has the most screenshots with the UI and DAG versioning. Thanks, Chet, again for explaining DAG versioning to me, I think 4 times with all the different like DAG bundles and things like that. Then there's chapter 5 about the Airflow free architecture. The big thanks goes to Ash. I think I sent you a draft document with about 60 or 70 comments that were all some version of, I think this is wrong, but I don't even know in which way, please help. So yeah, that's also like so many people helped with this book. Then there's a 6th chapter that talks about Astro. Of course, if Astronomer sponsors the book, we also want to show how you can run these pipelines that you built on Astro. 7 is about inference execution, how to think about this new Gen AI use case with event-driven scheduling. Then there's an upgrading chapter, a chapter about the future of Airflow that also includes a short message from Vikram. And then some resource links and a call to join the community. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. And if you go to the next slide, please. I already said it, but it bears saying again. There were so many people who helped with this. The book has an acknowledgement chapter at the start. There's so many people who helped read first draft, second drafts, 10th drafts. There were 3 different editors, like 2 editors and 1 proofreader involved on the Manning side. So yeah, it takes a lot of people to write a book, and especially I had a million questions, some more and less smart, about specific features. How do they work? How do I even talk about them? What kind of words are we using? And the whole Airflow community was extremely nice, answered my questions, even if I asked the same question again, because I didn't fully understand it the first time, or maybe something changed. Maybe some provider got renamed 2 weeks out of publishing, not saying which one, but you might know which one. And I had to make sure to change the link so it doesn't break. Huge thanks to a lot of the people who are on this call for helping write this book. I'm really happy how it turned out. And if you go to the last slide, please. Yeah, these are the 2 links. So the course to send to your data science friends to get them to finally come to the dark side of Airflow. And the book, which I hope will be also helpful for you or interesting for you.
Thank you so much, Tamara, and thanks for everyone again who helped with make that effort possible. It's such an incredible effort for the community. Both those things are great exposure for Airflow. So yeah, goes without saying, huge impact on the project in general. I'll share these links along with the recording after this call. I just want to give a quick update on our meetups program. It's really expanded over the last 6 months or so. And so I just want to give everyone a little bit of an update on where we are with that. So our meetup program has grown by almost 3,000 members in the last 6 months. You can see the membership just jumped up significantly here. We now have 26 groups and we now host events in 15 countries. That's thanks to a lot of people on this call, like Young Guk. Thank you for handling everything front to back with your local meetups in Seoul. Really impressive effort on your part. So thank you for that. And then other folks who are always willing to chip in, many who are on this call, many who are not. Amog comes to mind, always willing to speak at one of our meetups in his local area, and Kenton as well. Jed, fly Jed all around the country and then change my mind and tell him not to go. So thank you, Jed, for always being willing to speak as well. And yeah, Yark, we got to get you speaking at more of the European meetups as well. And Caxel always down to speak in London. So thank you. If anyone's interested.
We are on all continents now, except Antarctica, which like we have to do something about.
I know. Do
Antarctica.
we? Okay. I mean, if we think it's valid, then yes. And some chapters have been around for a while and we're just rejuvenating them, and some are brand new. I'll cover that on this slide. So these are our new groups that have emerged in the last, I don't even think it's been 6 months. I think this is in the last like 4 or 5 months. New chapter in Pune, new chapter in Charlotte, North Carolina, Amsterdam, Berlin, and Lagos, Nigeria as well. Victor is not on the call, but shout out to Victor for opening our Lagos chapter. So yeah, these events are just a really great effort. One thing to keep in mind, if you live in a place and are interested in getting involved, we can only open up a meetup when we see that there's a certain amount of Airflow users in that area. Otherwise, we just won't get the attendance that is necessary to justify it. So if you are in an area where you want to open up a meetup, just shoot me a note. We can kind of go through the numbers and see if it makes sense. I hate telling people no. I love when someone asks if they want to host a meetup locally, and I always want to say yes, but I also don't want to set people up for failure. I want to make sure the room is full for you and that the audience feels engaged. So that's one caveat here, but these events have just been really successful in the chapters that we've opened. It's just so incredible to see like this global representation across the entire world of folks who want to gather and chat just about Airflow. It's just one tool that brings this many people together. It's extremely impressive and inspiring. So just want to highlight that. And thanks again to the people organizing these. It's not an easy thing to do. So let's keep growing. I want people to make connections to folks that can host these meetups. It's always valuable if an office space is willing to host in that local city. That's what always makes these the easiest to produce and the most well-rounded. And if you're willing to help organize, whether that be volunteer to help check folks in at the door, or help MC the event itself. Like I'm always looking for that help. People on this call know I'm constantly messaging people being like, can you go here? Can you help with this? So I can't fly to all these places, unfortunately, as much as I would like to. So all the support is genuinely welcomed, and I'm thankful for it as well. So if you ever want to volunteer, not just to speak, but to just help out, yeah, shoot me a note and I would love to hear about it. But again, just really excited about the expansion of this program, and grateful to everyone who's been involved in that. So with that, if you have any questions about the meetup program, just feel free to drop them in the chat. Yeah, maybe we should have Airflow Summit in Antarctica. It might make it more affordable. Hard to get to though. Yarg, let's not bring that up on our Airflow Summit call later. We have too many other things to talk
We have 5 minutes, so like yeah.
So I am going to drop our standard resources in the chat, although I think most people on this call already have access to them. But as a reminder, the meetup sort of group that we have going on is easier to access on meetup.com. So just make sure you follow that link and keep that updated. You can see what's going on in every city across the world, not just your local chapter. And then also make sure you subscribe to get local notifications from your meetup group. And that will mean that you get an actual update every time in your inbox an event is going on in your city. Yeah, always make sure that you're in Airflow Slack and subscribe to our Airflow newsletter as well. And then join the dev list. A lot of the discussions, basically all the discussions that happen here already happen on the dev list. So it's a great way to sort of close the loop and create that context for yourself about the project itself. And with that, I think I will let all of you go. So thanks everyone for joining today. Again, thanks to all of our presenters. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has an excellent weekend ahead. Oh, and Ahmad, congratulations on becoming a PMC member.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Thank you.